everyone, and welcome to the first day of the Digital4Good Summit, ICANHELP's annual celebration of student innovation. Every year, our winning students share their innovations and how they're using Digital for Good. I'm Olivia Van Legge, your Day 1 MC and the founder of LiveBits. As a former Digital4Good winner, I am so excited to help share the incredible work of this year's winners. Over the next 3 days, 9 of our 11 winners will present their work to the Shark Tank Innovation Panel. We'll also get to hear from an incredible lineup of keynote speakers from TikTok, Twitter, Visco, and more. We'd like to say a huge thank you to our Day 1 sponsor, TikTok, for their generous support of our summit and the ICANHELP organization. As we kick off our event, make sure that you are posting and sharing on social media all day today. Use the hashtag Digital4Good and tag ICANHELPofficial to get a shout out, be reposted, or even have the chance to win a prize. We'll also be sharing links to fun activities, backgrounds, and filters throughout the day, so keep your eye out for it. And feel free to chime in to cheer on our student innovators as they present to the Shark Tank. Today, 3 of our winners, Gael Aider, Grace Bradley, and Victor Yee, will be presenting to the panel of sharks. After each presentation, our shark panel will ask the students questions about their work and their future goals for their innovations. Then, any of our sharks can bid to work with them in a one-to-one mentoring session later this afternoon. Will there be a fight to claim a spot with these young innovators? You'll have to wait and see. Before we hear from our student innovators, though, I'm honored to welcome our opening keynote speaker, Jeff Collins. Jeff is the Senior Director of Trust and Safety at TikTok and is responsible for building a safe and trustworthy experience for their user community. Welcome, Jeff.
All right, I'm on. Thank you, Olivia. It's so wonderful to be here and to see you again. I can never match that energy, but I'm going to try to do my best to offer some welcoming remarks. So as Olivia said, my name is Jeff Collins, and I'm leading Global Trust and Safety at TikTok, based in our Mountain View office. And I'm so excited to be here. I have been involved in Digital4Good since it started in 2017 and couldn't be more excited to be back as a shark. So I want to just tell you a little bit about why I'm here speaking to you to start this conference. My entire adult life has been focused on trying to make positive change in society. And I've tried to do that through all of the different jobs I've held in government, in the private sector, in nonprofits. I spent the first half of my career working on foreign policy and human rights, but over the past decade, I've been working in the tech sector. And my focus has been on trying to minimize the bad and bring out as much good as possible. In the industry, this has become known as trust and safety. So my last job was at a company that ran the after school app. It was a super popular app for high school students, had huge growth. The app allowed for anonymity, and it took a hands-off approach to content moderation. Early on, the company and the app experienced rampant cyberbullying. And so we shifted the approach. We started to aggressively take down negative content and really worked hard to create a more positive and supportive ecosystem. And it was in that role that I was introduced to Digital4Good. The whole experience, the conference, everyone I met was truly eye-opening for me. And I remember going to the first event at Twitter, and I honestly didn't know really what to expect. Most conferences that someone like me goes to, they're full of adults, they're pretty serious panel discussions. And Digital4Good, in contrast, it was so cool that it was emceed by students who were part of ICANHELP and featured trust and safety experts who have since become really great friends of mine. And it featured young people like all of you front and center, organizing the conference, speaking, offering ideas, performing, and describing projects. And what I saw before my eyes was the responsibility that your generation was taking to change the status quo, to turn things in a more positive direction, to create dialogue online so that we had conversations that weren't negative, that weren't filled with bullying and harassment and even worse, but we're really working to create an internet that could uplift, to teach, and inspire. And so over the years, I watched this conference evolve into the leading youth-led event on digital citizenship. And along the way, I've been really fortunate to have met, mentored, and become friends with some really amazing people. I remember Max Supranant, who was a past award winner. He was an elementary school student at that time who founded an organization called Catching Joy that promotes youth volunteerism and acts of kindness. And it's just been amazing to watch Max over the years getting ready for college. His organization has grown so much in the last 5 years since I met him. They've aided over 75 charities and mobilized more than 75,000 people to help others. I got to meet Brandon Farbstein, who's involved again this year as a fellow shark. He's been a mentor, a shark, and a supporter. He's one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. He's used his personal experience with bullying to both inspire change and to really bring about change in the real world. And he does this as an amazing speaker, a legislative activist, and a thought leader. And there are scores of ICANHELP youth volunteers like Isaiah Ruiz and Triveni Patel, who organize and run all aspects of this event. And I can't not thank both Kim Carr and Matt Soweth, who really brought me into this world. Matt was the co-founder and former co-lead of ICANHELP, and really helped bring about all of the inspiring activity that's happening today. And his co-founder, Kim, who continues to lead the org now that Matt is working with me at TikTok. Sorry about that, Kim. But Matt is continuing to help influence how technology can be harnessed by young people like you for good, and you'll hear a little bit from him today. So that brings me to today. Now I work at TikTok. Our mission is to inspire creativity and bring joy, and our work is focused on maintaining a positive and healthy platform. We try to minimize harm, promote positivity, and build trust with our users and society. But what I've realized over the years, including from inspiring young people like you, is that just taking down bad content and blocking content will never bring about true change. What we really need is to step into the arena, to take responsibility, and to work together to build places where online activity is used for positive goals. There are tons of different ways we can do this. We can do it in a company by writing and enforcing clear policies, by designing products in a way that respect privacy and support positive interactions, and build products that educate those around us about what it means to be a good digital citizen. And that, of course, is where all of you come in. Every year, especially recently, we hear more and more stories about the negative aspects of tech and social media. But there's a flip side to this. Every year, there also seems to emerge a new group of young leaders and change makers who are rising up, putting themselves on the line, dedicating themselves to making a real positive difference online and offline. And so all of you here who are participating, sharing, and being recognized and celebrated, you're really on the front lines. You're taking on problems that you and your generation didn't create, and you're working to really come up with solutions that are helping all of us use technology and the internet to improve our communities around the world. And this year's participants and winners really showcase this, bringing solutions to help in a whole bunch of different areas: civic engagement, mental health, cyberbullying. I'm super excited to hear from Grace, who started Kind Girls Win to help shift girl culture from exclusive to inclusive. Gail, who started Teenager Therapy, a podcast with his friends to discuss mental health challenges as a teenager. And Victor, who started a nonprofit to inspire, celebrate, and grow civic engagement by empowering young people to work on tough social problems. All of these and other projects we'll hear about are critical to helping us build the type of world that we really want to live in, a world where people are civil, respectful, creative, and caring. Your generation has the knowledge and skills that older generations like mine don't have. You guys grew up with screens and social media. You're really positioned to recognize the problems and figure out solutions. And I think it's also important to recognize you're also realists. You know that there's no silver bullet. There's not one project, one technology, one app that's all of a sudden going to change the internet. So I think to make a lasting difference, I would advise that all of you need to continue to be innovative and try different things to bring passion and persistence to your work day in and day out, to keep advocating for change and not accepting the status quo, and to do this without alienating people, but by inspiring them so that you can strengthen this movement that we're all part of. And so to end, I just want to say from all of us adults in the room, or at least on Zoom, since we're doing this virtually, thank you so much for what you're doing. Please keep doing it. I hope everyone has a wonderful event. I'm super excited. I can't wait to do the shark aspect. And I'll turn it back over to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for those wonderful, inspiring words of welcome to begin the summit. We've just shared a link to a digital photo booth and custom Instagram filters in the chat. So snap some fun photos with your watch party and share them on social media. Don't forget to use the hashtag Digital4Good and tag ICANHELPofficial. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our first student innovator, Gael Aider. Gael is a high school senior, and he's also one of the hosts of Teenager Therapy, a mental health podcast by teens for teens. On the show, he and his friends talk about their real life struggles as teens, sharing ideas and finding solutions to their challenges together. Their podcast has a huge following on Instagram as well. Gael, welcome. We are so excited to hear more about your organization.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. So, my name's Gael. I'm the host of Teenage Therapy. Next slide, please. So how did 4 of my friends and I manage to land an interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, as well as get featured in the New York Times? To be honest, it was quite simple. We talked into the mic and uploaded it to the internet, but there was one special factor that made all this happen. Teenager Therapy is a podcast I created along with 4 of my friends. It's a coming-of-age story told in real time, a culmination of mistakes and growth, and a reminder you're not alone. The concept is simple. We record ourselves having a conversation about any topic that comes to mind. However, what makes it special is our ability to be vulnerable and talk about the things that others don't want to talk about. It was the rawness of our conversations that attracted so many listeners. Teenage Therapy is a refreshing getaway from the overly positive and good vibes only content that plagues the internet. Teens specifically no longer want to fake positivity. We want to get real about our feelings and our emotions. And thanks to the internet, teens today are more connected than ever, yet we only seem to feel lonelier even while surrounded with connection. It's evident there's a problem, which can be clearly seen through the rising rates of mental illness. Because of this, more and more teens are in search of comfort, a place where, if nothing else, they get a sense that they're not alone. Their problems matter, and most importantly, they're not the only ones going through it. The mental health stigma makes it hard to talk about our struggles, which only exacerbates the feeling of isolation. Unfortunately, going to an adult for help is not only uncomfortable, but not an option for many whose parents dismiss their mental health struggles. That's why having
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. We can't see you very well, so I'm wondering if you could tilt your webcam a little bit so we can see you.
Oh my gosh, yes, you should have told me earlier. There you go. That should fix it.
Oh, perfect. Now we see you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, you look great.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. But yeah, that's why having the courage to be vulnerable is so important, because vulnerability is one of the ways to help develop a meaningful bond with someone. And although I didn't create teenage therapy with the values of vulnerability and comfort and feeling like you're not alone, I quickly realized how much good openly talking about your problems could do for someone. Spreading the importance of vulnerability quickly became one of our fundamental values. And the great thing about all this is that anyone could get involved. Teachers and parents can share this with their teens as a way to start a discussion around the issues that are hard to talk about and the issues important to their teen. The most meaningful way a teenager can get involved is simply by having the courage to be vulnerable. Open up to your friend and watch your connection grow in a way you've never experienced before. Companies and businesses also have a simple duty: pass the mic to young people. Fund young creators, entrepreneurs, and creatives, and help use your resources to amplify their voices. Staying connected with the audience you cater to is crucial to any brand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gael. I'm definitely going to subscribe to Teenager Therapy because, first, you and your friends sound like a ton of fun. And second, I want to be part of a community that's having real discussions about topics that matter. For anyone else who's interested in subscribing, check out the link we shared in the chat. All right, the moment you have all been waiting for. Let's introduce the panel of sharks. We are joined today by Tony Watley, podcaster, entrepreneur, and side hustle millionaire, Jeff Collins, head of trust and safety at TikTok, Becca Cross, senior director of experience marketing at Salesforce, and Ashley Lynn, former Digital4Good winner and the founder of Project Exchange. Thank you to all of you for being here. We are so excited to hear your amazing feedback. Tony, let's start with you.
Olivia, thank you for that warm welcome. I really like the presentation from you, Gael, and we're looking forward to taking on some questions to present you for your presentation there. So I guess let's start off with getting the sharks here with their cameras on. I think we can all join at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. Becca, Ashley, Jeff. We need Jeff. There's Gael. Jeff, add your camera there. Okay, now let's start with the questions because we know we have some good ones. Who would like to have a question for Gael? Becca, you have something that you'd like to ask?
I'm happy to kick it off. Gael, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really interesting. I'm curious to understand what is special about the way you and your friends talk about vulnerability that inspires people so much.
It's very simple, actually. It's that we put ourselves out there in a way that leaves a lot of room to get hurt. I'm sure a lot of us know that opening up is scary, and when you open up, you're giving someone the power to hurt you. That's really scary. That's not something we feel comfortable doing. But if you take a look around and you take a look at your closest friends, you realize that the ones and the people you gave the power to hurt you are the ones you trust. They're the ones you feel connected to, because there's that sense of personal and mutual trust and connection. And I think our listeners see that from us. They know that while listening, we're giving them this power to make fun of us, to mock us, to do all of these nasty things, but we trust them with that because we know the importance of it. And I think a lot of people also see themselves in us. We get those type of DMs very often that they see themselves and their stories and their voice in us. And each time we talk about our own story, it's a representation of them. And I think that matters to a lot of people.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's a terrific answer.
Yeah, that was great. I'd like to learn a little bit more about your numbers and your coverage and what your goals are for expansion. You're touching so many people and it's amazing, but it would be interesting and helpful to hear a little bit more about your goals for growing the audience.
Yeah, so we actually have over 550,000 followers on Spotify. We have around 140,000 on TikTok, 52,000 on Instagram, 7,000 on Twitter, and millions of streams, about 4 or 5 million streams on Anchor and then Spotify. And so those are the numbers that we have, and that obviously shows our audience. And I think our main strategy for growth is there's a few things, because one, obviously the Gen Z podcast market is still very underdeveloped. A lot of Gen Z doesn't really know what a podcast is, let alone listen to one. So it's still very, very early on in the market. And I think as we grow, our audience really is only limited by how many people are in the market. And I think it's definitely something that we keep an eye out. So in the beginning, our growth strategy was just asking people, hey, this is the podcast. Do you like the concept? If you do you mind posting about it on your story and giving us a shout out? And lots of people were open to that. So it clearly resonates with people once they're aware of it. Something that we noticed is that the biggest problem isn't really converting people to listeners, but just getting the podcast in front of them. Because once the podcast is in front of them, the retention rate is actually pretty good. And a lot of them will be interested and start listening to at least one episode. So when it comes to growth strategy, something that we're really aiming to do is, one, do a more organic growth method, which is just by posting content and posting the podcast, doing YouTube series. We actually have a few in the works right now. And when it comes to something that's a little bit more planned in terms of marketing, we like to focus on campaigns a lot. Instead of just pushing our own podcast and be like, hey guys, we're really great, go listen to us. It's kind of more like, hey, this is something that we're doing because this issue is important to us. Go listen to us if you think this is something that you would enjoy as well. We're actually doing something with during Pride Month that is about an issue that's very important to us, and we hope will also introduce a lot of new people to the podcast.
Thanks. I love what you guys are doing, and you know, we've had such a stigma in the U.S. at least. Different countries deal with mental health issues differently, but there's been such a stigma in the US. So, you know, bringing more awareness as you are is amazing. And I think, you know, kind of the attention and shift to audio with Clubhouse and, you know, Facebook's coming out with new audio products. That's going to be a real opportunity, I think, for you guys. Yeah, with Gen Z. So thanks for that answer.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Yes. I mean, amazing. Like, I really, really love kind of this idea and all the work that you're doing. Especially resonated with what you said, Gael, about how young people often like feel lonely, and we are really looking for spaces where we can be kind of seen and heard and feel like we belong. I guess to that, and I do have a question, because podcasts can be really one directional in the sense that like people are listening, and I guess I wonder how do you go about creating that sense of community around the podcast, and how do you make it something interactive where people do feel like this is not just something that they're listening to, but a place where they can actually belong and contribute to?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. It's definitely something that we keep in mind. I think we know that our biggest strength is our sense of community and our sense of bonding with our listeners. You know, in contrast with a lot of creators who their content's really just like very lighthearted, ours is very emotional and deep. So people get a really strong bond because of that. And we really try to acknowledge that and care for that as much as possible. So a couple of ways that we've been trying to incorporate a bigger sense of community and involvement in the podcast, because we get a lot of DMs like, hi, how can I be on the podcast? Will you guys ever have guests? Will you have listeners on the podcast? And since there's so many people, we obviously can't have them all in, you know, the episode. So a few workaways around that is, one, we have a Discord community, and in that Discord community, we bring people with the same values and the same, you know, issues together to talk about their experiences. And it's actually really great. There's a lot of people that have met new friends because of that community. So just bringing people together is something we value a lot. And then when it comes to making people feel like they're part of the conversation, we recently launched something called Comfort Calls and POV calls, POV sessions. And Comfort Calls is basically a live stream that we do on Twitch, Instagram, and sometimes TikTok. And basically, we put up a phone number, and people can call in and just vent to us and just rant to us about whatever issues they want. We did our first iteration of this about a couple weeks ago, and there was so many calls. We got so many calls, and it was only like a 40-minute time slot. But throughout like the 2 or 3 people that we were able to take in, they opened up to us so freely and so openly. I mean, they got right into it. They were talking to us about heartbreak, about their struggles, about toxic masculinity in their household, and some people were even talking to us about sexual assault and their experience with it. And since obviously we're not therapists, we can't really help them. The only thing we can do is just comfort them, say it's okay, it's going to get better. And that's one way that we involve a community. The other one is POV sessions. That one is one where we have a specific subject, and we get people, because a lot of people, we obviously can't incorporate every point of view with the 5 people we have, right? We don't have a Muslim POV, we don't have a Black POV. There's a lot of POVs and a lot of worldviews that we obviously can't talk about because that's not our experience. So the way we worked around that is with these POV sessions. And let's say we're talking about cultural appropriation. We have people call in and tell us, what do you think about cultural appropriation? What are some parts of your culture that you think are appropriated versus appreciated? So that's something we've been doing for that.
Excellent.
Gael, can I just mention one thing quickly? When you guys are having the personal conversations, I think one thing, I don't know how much you've thought about this, but one thing you guys have to be careful about is if you do encounter someone is at immediate risk, I think it's going to be really important for you to be able to have the links to connect them to the right help. You mentioned you're not therapists, but that can get into some tricky issues for you. So that's I'm super interested in this and would love to help. And I think that's something I can help with. I've done a lot with Crisis Text Line and other groups that are leaders in mental health and tech. But yeah, just something to watch out for.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jeff. I totally agree. That's actually one of the concerns that, like, as soon as we got those calls, I was like, whoa, this is pretty heavy. Like, we're gonna have to find either disclaimer resources or just how to be, professional and respectful about these issues, because it's definitely very sensitive. So very much agree.
Hey, Gail,
Yeah,
I
I
have
was
a
curious.
question for you.
Sorry,
So
go ahead, Tony.
here's the thing, Gail. I love the concept. I love the heart that you guys are putting into it. It's a very important subject. Let's talk about age progression. What happens when you and the other co-hosts are no longer teenagers? Is there going to be a succession plan to keep this moving going forward? And I guess you would be like a CEO of an organization at that point.
Yeah, a lot of people, we're definitely keeping people in anticipation, talking about what we're going to do when you're no longer teenagers. If there's one question people ask us, well, what about when you graduate, when you're 20? What are you guys going to do? It's something we're still working on. We have a lot of ideas. We're definitely hoping to keep this going, even when we're no longer teenagers. How that will manifest, I'm not exactly sure. But one idea we have in mind is we just, keep going. And it's like phase 2, phase 1 was our high school years. Phase 2 is our college years. That's also something worth talking about. And the cool thing is that our audience grows up with us. I mean, we started when we were 15 years old. We're 17 now. It's going to be a really cool experience to have a fan that started listening when we were 15 and they were 15. And now we're both like 20, right? That's really interesting. Another idea that we have is, what about if we pass it down to the next generation, and every 4 years, it's a new group, right? And I'll kind of be working the back end, making sure everything goes well, and just helping people, but it's kind of like a new generation. So there's a lot of things we can do. Definitely still thinking about it, but for now, I think we just want to keep it going until it makes us happy and fulfilled.
Excellent. Becca, you had a question.
I guess I'm starting to think more about the way that you market yourself and the way that you target who you're trying to get to. I understand that you are teenagers, trying to reach teenagers and talking about teenager things, but when you start talking about the marketing of this, you also are incorporating parents, you're incorporating students, you're incorporating teachers. How do you think about that holistically?
Yeah, so we also acknowledge that there's actually a lot of parents that listen to us. We get reviews and DMs every once in a while with a parent that's like, hey, I have 2 teenage daughters or boys that are turning 13 or 14, this podcast has been incredibly helpful. So we know that audience exists and we know we need to reach it. But right now, to be honest, we're kind of focused on keeping our main audience at hand. I think once we expand a little bit more and we have our teenage audience locked down, parents is going to be another audience that we could reach to. I think right now we're not really catering to them for obvious reasons, but when we do see parents listen to us, that definitely makes us happy, and we're aware of their existence. But right now it's kind of just let them find us, but hopefully that changes in the future.
All right. Well, we got 5 minutes left, Gael, and I think you have some interested sharks here that maybe want to mentor you, have a conversation. So we'll go through them one by one. Becca, Ashley, and Jeff. Let's go in that order. Would you like to be working with this? Pitch why you need to work with them.
I would love to work with you, Gael. You're doing some incredible work that has tremendous impact on young people, and especially while we've been going through a global pandemic. I can't even emphasize enough how much that mental health challenge is important to tackle. And I think that there's this tremendous growth opportunity for you. I'm a lifelong marketer. And so when you start talking about your awareness challenges and your branding challenges and the way you want to reach more people, I think I can really help you. So I'd be excited to work with you if that's where you think you're needed.
All right. Ashley, give them your pitch.
Yes, no, definitely. I am a big fan. I'd be really interested in working with you to see how you can kind of deepen impact within your listener community. So I'm actually writing a book on digital first online community building right now. And so what you said about kind of like the Discord community really excites me, because I think there's so much potential to kind of move kind of some of your listening audience into kind of those smaller, more intimate communities in places like Discord, where people can get vulnerable on a whole new level and really make deeper connections that way. So would love to be a thought partner in figuring that out.
Excellent. Jeff.
Yeah, I'll just echo what I said before. I mean, I think, and what the other shark said, I mean, this is important. This is amazing work you've done, and super timely. I think, yeah, I'm super interested in helping you. I have, for the last 8 years or so, been working on things at the intersection of tech, mental health, and well-being, in part because there were some suicide clusters in Palo Alto. And so I got to know a bunch of the experts working on these issues. But my last company, After School, we were the first company to work with Crisis Text Line before Facebook and others started working with them. And I'm leading a bunch of projects at TikTok to really bring greater focus to user well-being. And so I think there are lots of ways that I could help you scale what you're doing and really bring to bear expertise through the relations I have in this area. So would love to help you, and super excited to see what you guys do in the future.
Excellent. Well, as a fellow podcaster and an online community builder, I've built online communities with over 500,000 combined members. And I'm also a very strong businessman. I could teach you how to monetize this, scale this, and actually create more impact with income. So I think we're all four interested. But Gael, the tough question is with you. Who are you going to pick? You only get to have one shark from this group.
That is definitely a tough question. Ashley, Becca, Jeff, you all sound incredibly helpful, and I know would bring a lot of value and expertise to my project. And I wish I could partner with all of you, maybe in the future, hopefully. I think thinking about our best interests and keeping our audience in mind, I think I'm going to have to choose Jeff, because I think his audience, TikTok, is obviously huge with us. So that's who I'm going to be picking this time.
Awesome. Well, congrats, Jeff. Looks like you got a good one. And we're going to go on to Olivia to get to the next one. Thank you, Gael, for presenting to us. I loved meeting you, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
So, Gael has chosen to meet with Jeff during the next post-show mentoring session. Well done. We will all be waiting to see what happens next. Our next student innovator is Grace Bradley. Grace is the founder of the organization Kind Girls Win, a nonprofit she started in high school to help shift girl culture from exclusive to inclusive. She has cultivated a healthy girl culture with groups all across the United States and around the world. And Kind Girls Win was just recently certified as a nonprofit. Welcome, Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Bradley, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization called Kind Girls Win. Kind Girls Win is cultivating kindness and inclusivity among young women by hosting monthly socials and spreading our message on social media. I founded Kind Girls Win in 2018 after having a very hard time making girlfriends. I just graduated high school and all my friends had moved away, and girls were very scary. It's very hard to find kind women out there. I decided to take this leap of faith and start this organization. And the goal was to host these monthly socials for girls to gather in the name of kindness. I realized after our first social that we can be so different and our differences can divide us, but kindness can really bring us together. After our first social, girls started hearing word of it through social media and decided that they wanted to start chapters of their own in their college towns and in their hometown cities. At first, it was a little bit scary, but it was so amazing seeing the impact that these girls were making in their own community and really making Kind Girls Win their own. We even had a chapter start in Australia and Honolulu, Hawaii, that I actually visited last March. It's been so cool to see the effect of Kind Girls Win across the country, and it's really living out its message as well. When I first started the organization, a lot of people asked me, "So you've always been kind?" I think that's kind of impossible. And I was like, "Yeah, it is." It wasn't until my dad passed away my junior year of high school that I really had my outlook change on my entire life. I remember the specific moment that has really shaped Kind Girls Win today. The day that my dad passed away, yes, the exact day, I decided to go to cheer tryouts because I did not want any handouts and wanted to make the team myself. When I showed up, I was greeted with nothing but kindness from girls that we did not always get along or even like each other. They hugged me, they held me, and they even did my hair and gave me clothes to wear because I came straight from the hospital. It's moments like that that prove that girls can be kind and the impact can be long lasting. If you are a company or a business and you want to get involved, we really need help spreading our message. We would love for you to partner with us by following us on social media and reaching out to see how you can get involved. If you are a student and you would like to start your very own club or chapter in your community, you can also reach out as well by shooting us an email and filling out our interest form on kindgirlswin.com. We would love to have you a part of this movement and have you a part of this organization. We are so thankful to receive this award from Digital4Good and cannot wait to see you guys join us along for this ride. Thank you. Hi.
That was so amazing. Personally, I've definitely experienced feeling left out and being excluded a lot. And I love so much that you've created a movement that focuses on kindness, friendship, and inclusivity. If you want to find out more about Kind Girls Win and how to start a group at your school, check out the link we just shared in the chat. Jacqueline Wida is joining us as a Kind Girls Win chapter lead to answer the sharks. Okay, sharks, time to unmute yourself and turn on your cameras. We really want to hear your thoughts.
Hi, Tony. My name is Jacqueline. I just wanted to introduce myself since you guys haven't seen me before.
Welcome to the virtual stage, Jacqueline, and thank you for representing Kind Girls Win. We're going to give you some questions. Let's start with Ashley. You have a question, Ashley?
Yeah. Well, that was incredible. I really loved listening to that. I think my biggest question is what is your unique value and what sets apart the thing that you are creating from other kind of groups where young women can find spaces where they feel inspired and empowered.
Yes, I would love to start off by saying we are a partner in Kind Resources. As Grace said, we do host monthly socials to bring awareness to the harsh reality of just girl relationships. I assume you know, Ashley, and probably you as well, Becca, that women sometimes it's hard to get along with. Sometimes it can be catty and mean and just really hard to connect with people. And with our socials, we are just reaching out and inviting people to come and join us and to just be inclusive. And we are making merchandise as well to support our mission and just really trying to shift girl culture from exclusive to inclusive.
Excellent. Becca.
I have what seems like a pretty fundamental question. How do you know when you've been successful at it?
We have had quite a few people that have joined. We actually have a Facebook group, and everyone on there has kind of left reviews from socials that we were able to do. And as my own chapter leader, I was able to host the social right before the pandemic started, and I had 2 or 3 people join. I did not know them completely, and it was very interesting because we all lived in the same community, and it was just able to connect with those people and now still see them, on social media or see them, down the street at their house and be able to still be kind to each other. And especially we're currently spreading the word more on social media just because of the current pandemic, and just spreading the message of self-love and women supporting women and just being authentic.
Excellent. Jeff, let's get some feedback and questions from you.
Yeah, so I'm curious, has the pandemic set you back or helped you? And I wonder if that's like changed your thinking at all, because every business and organization has had to shift so much over the last year. Curious how that's affected you. And then what I also want to know is, as you guys grow and get successful, are you going to allow there to be a spin-off for boys?
Yes. So we have just focused on Kind Girls Win. I'm just going to answer your second question first. But we would be happy to partner along some boys that want to also create their own. We'd be happy to give them our resources and work with them and just kind of mentor them and helping them create something that impacts men as well. Yes, the pandemic has definitely affected us. We are very based in socials and trying to reach out to women because I think it's a lot easier when you're in person. We did host a few Zoom socials and are planning on relaunching socials in summer of 2021 if it permits. And we do have some big plans for the future, hopefully hosting some conferences at schools and possibly a retreat, but big dreams, and we're just hoping to get through this right now.
I love it. And I'll just say that, I work in tech and we're on a screen right now. Screens are all around integrated into our lives now. But I'm a real strong, firm believer of the importance of in-person interaction. And, I think to the extent you can marry those two, that would be helpful. But I think it's incredibly important. So I really love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Jacqueline, Tony here. So I would love to know, what is the business model? How do you plan to monetize this to create the impact?
So currently, because we're a nonprofit, we were applying for some grants. I'm not sure exactly where we are on that, but we also started our own merch line that supports the kind words that we're trying to spread and just emphasizing our mission. We started selling merch around summer of last year. We have broken even so far, but since we don't have the necessary reach quite yet, we're still working on, our word of mouth and just gaining that marketing experience. We're getting into Google Analytics and Facebook ads to make sure that we can start reaching our target demographic. But we are hoping to get some help in figuring out how to monetize it to make sure that this is something that can last for hopefully a few lifetimes.
Excellent. Excellent. And I came up with a name when you were describing the boys thing that Jeff had mentioned. Maybe it's Mean Boys Lose. Let's be real.
Love it. Love it.
So anybody got some more questions? We got a few more minutes before we get into the battle here.
I have a couple of questions about the way you see the size and scope of your market here. Because I think that there's certainly a lot of conversation around teen culture for women or young women, but I think that extends in it throughout life. Do you think about this more specifically as something that's targeted towards young women, or do you think it's something that is a lifelong membership kind of an experience?
I do think it could be both. Currently, if looking at our analytics just based on our Instagram, it is 93% women that interact with our social media. And it's 46% 18 to 24-year-olds and 30%, surprisingly enough, 25 to 34-year-olds. We do have a high school club, and that's something that we're super interested in trying to make some curriculum so we can get it into schools and just start providing them space to just come, join, connect, and be inclusive. It is something that I would hope could continue for a long time. I think if we could get into schools, and I think if we could, not just have social events at college, like if we could do it in some areas where it's, younger women, and even doing it with like moms, like I think mom groups would also have like a lot of fun, like coming together, and maybe it could be set up a little different, organized a little different, but I think that there's a lot of potential.
Anybody else who's got a question? Well, Jacqueline, I think we have some interested sharks here. We're going to tell you why we would like to work with you, but you get to pick one. So let's start with Ashley.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this. I think this is, as a young woman myself, I know how important having really uplifting communities around me is. I would love to help you explore some questions around kind of how do you scale and get into schools. So I've led a couple of just student-led organizations. I used to lead on the state and national level for Future Business Leaders of America, where we ran student chapters for over 250,000 students around the world. So I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity to kind of bring this into schools, but also a lot of things to consider when kind of working with schools and with teachers. I think before you scale there, it's so important to just identify like product market fit and like community market fit. And I'd love to kind of help you think more about that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Becca.
Jacqueline, it's great to hear your insights and the big dreams that exist here for Kind Girls Win. I'd love to help you achieve those dreams. I think that there's actually a long-term play here that I think has the potential to impact not just young women, but women of all ages. That girl culture thing that we all have experienced as women continues, and that approach to try to change it with deep personal interaction, I think, is really important. At Salesforce, I know we have a community of millions, and the way we think about it is we think about self-sustaining that ecosystem with people who self-select themselves to be evangelists and advocates. So when I start thinking about what that potential and possibility can look like for you, sky's the limit.
Excellent.
Thank
Jeff.
you so much.
I think this is amazing, and I think you should be open-minded to not just have female advise. But yeah, I would be super interested in helping. I think what's really important for you is going to be marrying the online and the offline. Like I said, I love the offline element, but I think it's going to be really important for you to have a smart social media strategy to grow your presence and do it in a way that is, that is like truly national and hopefully beyond national. I think something else is going to be important for you guys is to get some cachet through not just the grassroots stuff that you're doing, but like to get a endorsement of a big name. So like as an example, Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation, and I have connections to like that group and some other organizations that I think could be really helpful to you guys. And regardless of how this goes with, pairing up sharks, would love to just help you in that respect.
Thank you.
This is Tony, and I would say that there's ways I could help you guys. Maybe if you wanted to start a podcast, do things like that, or learn how to do this as a more business model. I'm well connected with people that have apparel and merch manufacturing companies that I'd be happy to share those contacts with you to help grow that as well. And so there's a lot of interest here, Jacqueline. It's a big question for you, but you get to pick one shark to talk with you. So who's that going to be tonight?
Well, I want to thank you all for your interest. I know it's kind of weird me coming and speaking for Grace, but I really appreciate you guys all giving me such good feedback and giving such good questions. I think I'm going to have to go with Becca because I'm super excited about what her dream is for us, and I would look forward to still talking and connecting with all of you afterwards.
Excellent, Jacqueline. Well, thank you for presenting to us. It's an impactful thing. And hey, you know what? Those mean girls were also mean to us when we were teenage boys too. So you're not alone. We get you. We get you. So with that, let's go back to Olivia.
All right. Jacqueline has chosen to meet with Becca during the post-show mentoring session. I'm just going to say I called it. Now, 2 sharks are left, but only 1 student remains. Let's see who matches up with our final day 1 student innovator, Victor Yi. Victor is the founder of Innova Youth, a nonprofit that empowers young people to develop their research, collaboration, and communication skills to drive social change. Victor, let's do this.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for the amazing introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Yi, and I'm super excited to be here speaking to you at the summit today. Next slide. As students, we were always taught to memorize and regurgitate the information we learned in the classroom. When I was in my history class in my sophomore year of high school and wanted to brainstorm ways in which we could use previous mistakes in history to solve current crises around the world, I was shut down by my teacher, who told me that it was not being tested and therefore was unimportant to our learning. This experience and many like it made it clear to me that the problem with our education system is that the knowledge we learn is often disconnected from the real world. As an avid consumer of news and current events, I clearly saw the need to challenge the status quo in order to meet the challenges my generation faces. I knew it was my moral obligation to not just do my part, but also play an important role in inspiring and supporting other young people to take action. Next slide. From that frustration, I founded Innova Youth, a global 501c3 education nonprofit that strengthens research, collaboration, and communication skills through workshops and conferences to empower students to become community changemakers. We realized the growing emphasis in our generation's need for community in this pandemic period, and certainly unity through the focus on thinking globally and acting locally. One of the biggest success stories we have had at Innova Youth was through our international conference in Dubai, teaching young students about global leadership and providing them an opportunity to speak with industry leaders. Another great example was in Iran when we held the Social Responsibility Summit in partnership with the Tehran City Hall to give young elementary students the space to brainstorm problems in their community along with solution-based ideas to help foster a greater sense of giving back to those who need it most. The most memorable peer I've had the privilege to work with was 11-year-old Mary. After attending our leadership seminar, Mary found the courage to address the bullying she faced in school for her interest in science. She took our collaboration lessons and created a support network of teachers who became anti-bullying ambassadors. She applied her communication skills to recruit like-minded 8th graders who served as mentors for younger 6th grade students. She integrated her research skills and created flyers explaining the ways to eliminate bullying through strengthened understanding and social empathy. Her initiative, Stand Up, is now impacting more than 400 students school-wide. If one young changemaker can teach 400 students the values of social good, how many people can 400 changemakers impact? Since its founding in 2018, Innova Youth is proud to have impacted over 10,600 youth in over 15 states and 14 countries, and hosting over 50 workshops and conferences centered around civic engagement and Generation Z. Students have a lot of power in the operation of Innova Youth. You have the ability to host conferences with support from the team, as well as create passion projects that suit your interest in closing a gap in the system within the local community. There are opportunities for everyone to get involved. Companies can become a valuable asset by providing financial support to fund conferences, as well as supporting our mentor network to bring young students into the experiences of adult leaders. Schools can launch Innova Youth clubs to help foster safe spaces to discuss how you can become a changemaker locally, and students can create truly impactful initiatives. The possibilities are endless. We aim to continue involving students in social entrepreneurship and provide chances for all students to unlock their true potential to change the world. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you so much, Victor. For anyone who wants to learn more about Innova Youth and how to get involved, you can check out the link we just shared in the comments. I just wanted to let you all know that we are getting so many shout outs in the comments. Thank you so much. All right, now it is time to hear from the Sharks. Tony, what are your thoughts on Innova Youth?
Olivia, thank you for asking. Victor, awesome presentation. As a fellow entrepreneur myself, that is actually one of my lifelong missions, is that I wanted to create a curriculum within public schools that gives people the option for entrepreneurship, because I grew up without money and I thought that being a business owner required you to already have money. I always thought that being a business owner meant you had to have a brick and mortar on Main Street with your last name painted on the window. And it just seemed like so far away from me. And I love that what you're doing is international and teaching people that entrepreneurship and leadership is an option for them, because I didn't really think I had that access. So love what you're doing. Well, let's get some questions from our fellow Sharks here. Jeff, let's go with you first.
All right. Victor, thanks. That was awesome. So this totally resonates with me. One thing that I didn't mention was before I was working, maybe I did mention it, but before I worked in tech, I spent a decade plus as a diplomat for the State Department. And so worked all over the world, Cuba, Iraq, Turkey, Bolivia, Venezuela, spent some time in the Obama White House. So this completely resonates with me. I love the global aspect. I love that you were talking about the conferences in Dubai and the work with Iran. Yeah, I think it's super cool. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you will focus your limited resources when you look at different geographies. So do you have plans to tailor this by region, or to focus on certain regions as you grow? And then also, it seems like you do a lot of different things. So I would love to hear a little bit of clarity on kind of what do you see as like your bread and butter that really sets you apart? Like, what is your core value that you can offer? Because I think it's going to be important that it's not like too general and too watered down, but as you build this, you really have something that you guys bring that's special that other organizations don't.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate your comments on that. I think the bread and butter of our organization really relies on the in-person conference experience that provides students with the exposure to more ideas that are non-existent in the classroom experience. That's hence why we focus so heavily on these workshops and conferences that get students pumped up about working on their passion and interest at a deeper level. In terms of our expansion of various states and countries, we've mainly been working through the various interests of students who come message us and also provide opportunities in which they have free time or would love to expand our chapter network further. So that's how we've been growing organically. However, we have had a little bit of difficulty maintaining that because it has grown at a very high level and to many different time zones very quickly over the past couple of years. So definitely on that front, on maintenance end, and also just understanding how to support all of the chapters, it has been a little bit difficult. But I think that throughout the experience, I think I can definitely work and support and kind of plan out for the next year, at least before the quarantine kind of COVID situation ends, how we can best kind of manifest for other students to kind of get involved in a way that helps them sustain their own chapters and also conferences that they can host on an annual basis.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up? And I'm sorry if I'm preempting other Sharks. So traveling costs a lot of money. So just maybe you could tell us a little bit about, how you're funding like your and core teams traveling globally for the conferences.
Yeah, so actually, interestingly enough, we actually do not travel to other particular conferences. How we actually travel to them is virtually, I guess, in that experience, because we actually operate on very low funding, and the way that we have been able to operate is actually partnering with various institutions or city halls, or for example, when we held our conference in LA, we partnered with the LA Department of Education. So like this is how we've been able to at least kind of work through our conferences, is providing a venue, all the support mentors, speakers, and whatnot. But as a core team ourselves, when we have conferences around the world, we participate virtually so that we can still get to meet the students through that manner.
Becca, how about you?
feels very much like an empowerment opportunity for a lot of students and individuals around the world, but it also sounds quite familiar. So I appreciated Jeff's question about where your differentiation lies. Do you see a future where you want to partner with these other organizations? Do you want to remain distinct and separate? And if so, what is it that you provide more specifically that is different than what they might get with other organizations?
Yeah, thank you so much, Becca, for the question. I think when it comes to our unique value that we place, I think the difference between other organizations is that this is entirely youth-led. Every initiative or every young person that is working on all of these conferences or beyond, whether they start projects beyond the conference or they meet other young people at the conference and they start their own passion projects, are all youth-led. So we hope to continue to partner with various organizations because we do not want to lose the youth side of our mission, which is to empower other young people to become community change makers. And so throughout the conferences, we also try to maneuver the conference in respect to the particular region. So for example, when we held our conference in Iran, we knew that the term social responsibility was a taboo in the region. So that's hence why we created a social responsibility summit. Whereas in Dubai, we focus more on global leadership since they have a lot of advantages towards providing a more global perspective. So in regards to different places around the world, we focus on one of the 4 key pillars, which is civic engagement, global leadership, a Generation Z, or social responsibility. So we kind of focus on particular regions to see what is most needed, and then trying to provide those exposures to young students who want to learn more about that particular field.
Ashley.
Yeah, it is awesome to see you again, Victor. Thank you for sharing about Innova Youth. I guess my question is about kind of like scale and next steps. I think when we think about scales, like there's a couple ways to think about it. There's like the number of conferences, like different locations that you're in. But I guess I'm really interested in kind of more on the impact side. What's next for you in terms of actually deepening kind of the impact that these conferences have on young people, and how are you tracking that impact?
For sure. I think the first thing that we've been working on throughout the past 1 or 2 years has been focusing on a tighter network of individuals that have participated in our conferences and thus have worked on various other ventures, initiatives, or projects that allow them to create a sense of community in that aspect. So I think that what we've been working on at least is to create a little bit of like an alumni network of young people that either, let's say, have graduated high school in a particular region, have maybe focused and moved to another country or another state for university, and continue to maintain that particular contact. Because as soon as people get exposure of the concepts that we teach, which is about civic engagement, advocacy, about stepping up to lead change, things like that, I think that can empower students to, in any degree, whether if they are leading a venture or participating in philanthropic endeavors, that they are going to be change makers in their own hearts. So I think through that experience, we've been mostly working to see how the improvements of the self has been made throughout the students, so that we continue to take surveys of how students have changed from just being a student, as they label themselves within schools, to becoming a change maker and actually providing themselves with opportunities for other students as well.
Excellent. So I've got a question that's going to go a little bit deeper, because everything we're talking about is based on present time and forward and the vision. I want to know the why behind this. I want to know not the purpose of serving the other children out there, but was there a catalyst or a moment in your life, Victor, that created this drive for you? Because we want to hear the passion for the co-founders. And if you could share the story that's why you're doing this, and maybe one of your other co-founders, the story why they're doing this.
Of course. I think it really relies deep into my heart when I found so many disadvantages currently within the education system to provide creative, inspiring ways for students, not just to become students and just focused learners inside the classroom experience, but to actually apply what they really learn into real world experiences. So for me and my co-founders, one of my co-founders was super interested in environmental sustainability, but was just stuck inside the biology classroom, just memorizing molecular structures, protein models, and was just fed up with the fact that they weren't able to actually engage with real life experiences. And that was a basic kind of set up a disconnect between how people are learning inside high schools or middle schools, all the way to how they are focused and engaged in university life and then beyond. So we want to provide those experiences early on where students can actually do things on their own and actually solve gaps within their local community first, so that they get that first initial exposure. And then after that, really provide themselves with experiences to help empower other young people to realize that they can do more than just learn or just take notes or just really absorb that information, but rather actually helping real world content happen. So for me, I'm a history fanatic. I love history. And for me, learning inside the history classroom was definitely a little bit unconventional because I did not just like memorizing history facts and information and just talking about previous mistakes from the past. And so for me, I am an avid news reader. And when I started my nonprofit back in 2018, there was a huge crisis in Venezuela for economy, for oppression, stuff like that. And I wanted to create ways for resources to be funneled into the country. But that was the exact time when my teacher shut me down and told me that it was not important. And also that there were other young adults leading it. So therefore, we did not need to focus on that. So that is the exact experience that me and also other young people have felt when it comes to their own passions, to really deepen that connection to their belongings of what they would like to see in their own futures.
Well, first of all, I'm glad I asked you that because I think we all get to see you just light up right there on the camera. I mean, we could really feel the passion behind what you're doing, and thank you for doing that. But anybody else have any more questions before we go into the pitch round? All right, then let's go in. I think you got some interested sharks here, Victor. You only get to select one, so we're going to tell you why we could work with you. So, Ashley, why would you like to work with them?
Yeah, I mean, I have been an Innova Youth fan for a really long time now. I mean, I just deeply resonate with your mission to kind of increase civic engagement and global citizenship among young people. I've done a lot of work in this space myself with Project Exchange, and education policy work. I mean, I would love to bounce ideas, and really support you in any way I can. So, yeah, I mean, your work is absolutely incredible. So thanks, Victor.
All right, Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I think this is amazing, super important. I love the focus on impact and impact in the real world. I'd be interested in helping, whether it's, just me or with another shark. I think you really face issues around scalability because it's very hard. There's a lot of logistics involved here. It's hard to, I think, scale this because what you need are connections to a bunch of organizations. You need like deputies in other regions who could help grow it. So I think kind of that organizational aspect is something that you need help with and that I could help with. And of course, as I mentioned, I've lived and worked all around the world and interacted with many different institutions that I think could be helpful. So I think for a lot of reasons, there's ways I could help you, and I would love to pitch in either, alone or with another shark.
Excellent. Becca, what are you thinking?
Victor, I have so much admiration for what it is that you and your co-founders are trying to do. The whole concept of raising the tide for everyone is one that I definitely believe in, and coming at it through that lens of empowerment, I think is really fantastic. I am trying to figure out how I can help. And honestly, the best way I can think of is through contacts. So whether it's a combination that you and I can work with together, or it's just people I can introduce you to, that youth angle is really interesting. And I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Well, Victor, that leaves it down to me. I've got a background also working internationally. I've worked in England, France, Africa, and the United States, and several parts of the oceans in the offshore industry. And I've also built some large communities, over 500,000 people combined. And I literally lead a group of thousands of entrepreneurs, and my podcast is about entrepreneurship. So I know about business, I know about scaling and branding and marketing. And I'd love to work with you because this is really heartstrung with my purpose of trying to have that curriculum for the young entrepreneurs. So you got a tough choice. I know that we're going to have some good overlap here, but I know that Becca and Jeff have already been selected. So you're picking between myself and Ashley.
Thank you guys all so much for listening to me. You guys are all valuable assets to every part of every organization that has been pitched today. If I were to pick from the angle in which we can build better infrastructure for our organization, I'd love to work with you, Tony, a little bit more extensively. To kind of see how we can build more of that community baseline entrepreneurship curriculum possibly, and also work into various other sectors across the world so that we can continue impacting more students. Thank you guys.
Definitely, just so all the winners understand that you can have some overlap. We're just having these conversations after this call, but sounds like Jeff, Becca, and Ashley are all interested in, and keep in touch, get everybody involved in this. And I know we have some good things to create some value for you. So thank you, Victor. But with that, let's go back to Olivia.
Can I just say, Victor, that I feel so connected to what you're talking about because I feel that way a lot of the time in my own school environment. So thank you so much for helping kids become change makers. Victor has been paired up with Tony. Best of luck to all of our student innovators as they get ready for their final presentations on Friday. Now, I would like to welcome Ashley Lynn to share what to expect during Friday's final Power Hour. Ashley is a high school senior from Vancouver, Washington. She is the head of Project Exchange, a nonprofit organization increasing access to cross-cultural leadership development opportunities for high school and college students. Ashley is also launching a book in August of 2021. Congratulations. So excited to hear from you, Ashley.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia. Hey, everyone. So my name is Ashley. I am a social entrepreneur and community builder in Vancouver, Washington. I was also a 2019 Digital4Good winner, which I think was the last event we had in person. So I'm just really, really excited that you are all here. And like Olivia mentioned, I founded Project Exchange, which is a youth-led nonprofit democratizing access to study abroad through online cultural exchange experiences. And so we kind of run a free 12-week digital exchange program, which brings together kind of middle and high school students from around the world to learn about community journalism, the UN SDGs, and use design thinking to really tackle big global issues in their local communities. So my experience at Digital4Good was really, really transformational. I just met so many incredible mentors through kind of the Digital4Good community and the ICANHELP network. People who helped me think about things like, how to build a board of directors, or like how to really build my social media strategy from the ground up. I remember at the summit, I was able to meet one of the leaders at March for Our Lives and really think through that together. People here have helped me with setting big goals for fundraising and figuring out how to reach out to donors. There's just a wealth of knowledge and experience in this community that I really, really hope you'll tap into over these next couple of days. In terms of general advice and kind of just what to expect. First, expect everyone to be super welcoming, and it's really up to you to lean in, right? We are really here to hype you up now and always, but especially in this online environment, it's really on you to reach out and connect with people. We are always just happy to chat and support in any way. So definitely lean in and ask questions, right? This is just such an incredible opportunity to have so many cool and interesting people in one room. Expect to meet lots of cool and interesting people. And so definitely just take advantage of that. Share ideas, share solutions, find future collaborators. This is really the place to do that. And I think just the last thing I will mention is really to just have fun, enjoy the moment. Even being part of this award ceremony is such a big accomplishment in itself. You have been chosen to be here because you really do have something to contribute to this community, and because we really believe in your work. And so regardless of what happens with the Sharks, with the rest of the summit, kind of be proud of this accomplishment, and really kind of stay involved with this community now and in the future, because you are a really valuable part of the community, and I'm really excited to stay in touch and work with you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. We are all looking forward to hearing more from all of these students during Friday's Power Hour. For all of our viewers watching, we would love it if you could share some of your favorite moments from today's student presentations on social media. Share your photos from our digital photo booth on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And feel free to share the moments that inspired you the most. Don't forget to use the hashtag Digital4Good and tag ICANHELPofficial. And now, please let me welcome Matt Soeth to share some final thoughts to close out our first day of the summit. In addition to working on the trust and safety team at TikTok, Matt is also the co-founder of ICANHELP and provides professional development to staff and students across the United States. He manages partnerships with other nonprofits, professional organizations, and technology companies, providing advice and insight into student behavior on social media, gaming, and schools. He's also a really good friend of mine. I am so excited to welcome my friend, Nat.
Oh, thank you, Liv. Appreciate the introduction. Olivia, aka Liv Bits, was one of our Digital Good for winners back in 2018. Excited to be back here at Digital for Good this year and having a chance to celebrate, even online. Just such an amazing event, featuring not only our winners, Gail, Jacqueline, and Victor. An incredible job. I hope you had a chance to enjoy this moment and celebrate it. Our amazing sharks, Ashley, Becca, Tony, and Jeff. Such an incredible opportunity to see how far this event has come since the first time we hosted this in 2017. And that was an awesome event, the first Digital for Good. We had a handful of partners. It was hosted at Twitter in San Francisco, and it was all about bringing young people together. Definitely not the amazing event you see here. From humble beginnings has come a lot of great success, incredible students, amazing mentors, and awesome projects. That first year, as I mentioned, numbers, 100 students, 4 companies, small budget. Now we have, something like over 40 winners, multiple mentors, multiple companies. We have a global representation, all young people who have done something incredible to solve major issues, be it in their community, be it online, wherever that may be occurring. And now you're part of this growing network. To our winners who presented today, winners presenting this week, you are all part of a growing network of young change makers who are making an impact in the world. You have access to the mentors, you have access to other young people who are also doing this work to sort of celebrate, inspire, learn, and grow. With that, just kind of looking at today, things that really stood out to me, really excited about sort of the grassroots topics and how all of these projects started, right? These were problems and incidents and things happening that these young change makers were super excited to solve, whether it was spreading kindness, mental health, or even just taking social action, right? These were the things that we're looking for. Ooh, it's my son. Speaking of social action. Hey, buddy. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. They just got home from school. That's good timing. As an example, Gael, I was very fortunate to mentor him in this project. Even more exciting for me was listening to the first few episodes of his podcast, and he'll share this. It's so fun to have them just even figure out how to podcast, right? How to do these projects and to see that growth. As he talks about vulnerability, I think he lived it in developing that audience and just being very authentic along with him and his other teammates in that project. We have also the creativity that's put into this, right? I think that each of these projects was born out of a need in the communities that these young people were seeing and discovering and being a part of. And just the sharks and the mentors, notice how willing, we had our 3 mentors, like great backgrounds, incredible experience. You also had our mentors of the individual winners. Was really impressed by how much work and how excited they were to put into this and support these young people. And just really excited about the idea that no one really gets anywhere without a mentor or coach. Having worked with, Tony and Jeff directly, Becca, just an incredible background. How cool is it that you have this opportunity to connect with these professionals and to gain some insight and knowledge, get some coaching. And that's what kind of leads me up to the last part here. As we look back on this day that we just had and shared together, I really encourage everyone to just be an advocate for youth entrepreneurship. Starting I Can Help. I can tell you, for me, when I graduated college, which seems a very long time ago now, being an entrepreneur was not something that people really talked about. And so now, as we see a lot of unique problems and even more so unique tools to solve those problems, it is so exciting to think about what could be possible as we work on these projects, right? And so as we continue to work on this, I'll get that in a minute, buddy. Go away. Thank you.
Count a minute.
I know. As we think and work on these problems, one of the things that really intrigued me greatly is how we can work together. How can we work on developing solutions, whether it's starting a business, scaling a project, things like that. For individuals here, as I mentioned, how do you want to grow your network? There's some incredible people here in this room, albeit virtually, but these are people you can connect with, be it on LinkedIn, be it through social media, in some way, and continue to grow that network to find individuals who have solved problems that you're working on, or maybe able to offer insight, things that you can work on as well. I can tell you that my personal network has certainly helped me immensely, from not only the types of jobs that I got, starting a nonprofit, understanding how to run a nonprofit, and then continuing to build programs beyond that, as well as much of the work that I'm doing here at TikTok right now. And the last thing I'd encourage everyone, and hearing this today, and I hope this is true for so many, but trusting yourself. I think it's very easy to get caught up in looking at what others have, or wondering if you belong in a certain line of work, or earning a promotion or getting that recognition. But I think the best thing to do is kind of honor yourself in that moment, recognize you belong, and bring value to your work and your purpose. Being true to that and recognizing that, I think, allows you to be honest in that moment in what you were working on and how you were working on it. So appreciate that opportunity. With that, just want to share a huge thanks. Definitely, being at TikTok, being at I Can Help, appreciate everyone's creativity, appreciate the effort that went into today. I Can Help for hosting, pulling this event together. It is not an easy endeavor, and want to thank everyone for tuning in, and so grateful that we here at TikTok got a chance to support this event. And for me, having started this, helped start this, excited to be back involved and continuing to celebrate young people making impact in their community, online, locally, and globally. Thank you.
Goodbye. I'm sorry. He is adorable. So thank you so much, Matt, and congratulations to today's student innovators on their wonderful presentations. Before we end, I would like to give a few shout outs. One shout out goes out to Linda Edwards on her incredible tweets, Heidi Barker on LinkedIn, and Jennifer Casatod on Instagram. Thank you to all of our viewers, keynote speakers, and our day one sponsor, TikTok. And we will see all of you tomorrow for day 2, kicking off at 1:30. Thank you so much, everybody.